who they really are. So it doesn't really require much, moving around into some, it used to, but not anymore. People are so ready to hear this message, and it feels so natural to them, and it's so enjoyable to know that they can treat this with simplicity and wonderment and fun and joy, because that's so natural to us, and we desire that so much that if we can do that in our process of remembering, even better, because why should it be complicated? I was having visions and dreams continuously of an event that had happened to me as a baby, about 6 months old, and up until that point in my life, things were already not very normal in my life. I had already lived in a home where we had 6 years of hauntings, very, very dramatic hauntings. And so having dreams like this wasn't something that I was necessarily uncomfortable with. It was just that I was having them all the time. And the depth at which I was doing that was really pretty intense. But I feel that the times have changed dramatically now, where it used to be even 3 or 4 years ago, I would have to sort of sugarcoat this idea that you went from being a victim to being this incredible, powerful, unbelievable creator of this thing that you can't stand being in. That those days have really dwindled away. It's really actually quite easy, and maybe out of sheer desperation, I will say that some people are just at the wit's end, and they just have tried, and everything that has been shown to them, whether it's in traditional Western sort of approaches to all sorts of Eastern traditionals, just this closeness. I could feel everything she was going through, the thoughts and everything. So the doctors came in and pulled my mother aside just by the doorway and told her that my situation had gone from bad to worse, and that it was at the rate I was going, it was pretty clear to them that at best I had a few hours to live. And so they went through the whole protocol of asking if the family wanted to have somebody to counsel them with the chaplain and so on. And this was a very small room, so even though they were pulling my mom aside, pretty much everybody understood by what was being said that this was not good news. So at that moment, I'm standing literally behind my mother and hearing this. And if you do that, then the easy conclusion, and it becomes pretty easy because you and I have worked together, and it becomes easier for one to understand that this thing we call life is not as complicated as we thought it was. It was never meant to be complicated. And so I talked to them about how we as a divine being that we are actually by nature childlike. And so I do this thing called the way of the inner child, which is to super simplify everything about our reality, about us, in a way that you can literally experience it as though you were a child, but not a human child, but the essence of a child, keeping it in the state of wonderment and innocence and curiosity. And when you do that, it becomes so easy for people to accept these things and embrace them, and it makes sense in this. And for the most part, up until that point, I was feeling into her, so I wasn't actually experiencing sort of this integrative process, but at that moment, I felt like I was sitting next to her in her mind, which I really have never explained it this way before, but experiencing this movie of my life, my future, and then tying it in with her emotions, and it was very deep. It was very emotional, because she was obviously sad to some extent, but she was so full of joy as well, and gratefulness and gratitude and stuff, it was just a mix of intense emotions, but all really beautiful in the worlds that we come from, in the angelic realms, in the spiritual realms. There is no such thing as gender identity. There is no such thing as man, woman. There's feminine and masculinity. Yes, there's those energies, but and there's no delineation in terms of who we love, to whom we love. We love each other as equally as we love anyone else. That's all acceptable in that realm. Here gets a little bit dicey, but all of this will come out, and it will come out in the next few years, and it will come out and people will accept it because they'll remember who they are.